Well, I hope Santa gives you everything you want for Christmas this year, because Congress has been playing Santa all year long with your money. A new report showing lawmakers giving each other more than $6 billion in pork presents, from testing quails on coke to sending Sesame Street to Pakistan, now calls to finally cut the waste before even uttering the words tax hikes again. Hi, everyone. I'm Tracy Burns, in for Cheryl Casoni, and welcome to Cashin' In. Our Cashin' In crew this week: Wayne Rogers, Jonathan Hothing, and John Layfield. And joining us this week, Fox News contributor Jamu Green and the editor-in-chief of the American Banker, Neil Weinberg. Welcome to all of you. All right, Jonathan, I know you love this. We're already hearing rumbles of tax hikes in the new year, but you say we got to cut spending first.
Yeah, I mean, Tracy, they are wasting our money. They're wasting our lives. They're talking more taxes. Meanwhile, they're spending, what, $500,000 on a rock and roll documentary, $800,000 on a study whether college kids like Facebook. Here's a hint. They like it. I mean, money on a chocolate promotion in New York. It's a total waste. The role of government is supposed to be limited and defined by the Constitution. It's not to fix the economy. It's not to create jobs. They're spending other people's money, throwing it down the drain. It needs to stop.
Yes, but that rock and roll documentary was about how it affected the collapse of the Soviet Union. Maybe it was very important after all. When you say, though, we need to do both, right? Cut the spending and potentially raise taxes.
Oh yeah, you got to, because you can't cover the gap just by cutting spending. But the spending is totally out of control. Jonathan is right. I mean, I laugh when I read some of this stuff. $6.9 billion. You know, that's 9 zeros. I mean, Senator Coburn has pointed out all of these things. It's ridiculous. There's over $1 billion given away to people for tax credits on housing who don't even own houses. Went all the way down to somebody who was a 4-year-old girl. She doesn't even own a house, and they gave her money. I mean, this is insanity. The one I love the best, of course, is the one you mentioned earlier, of giving $181,000 for the study of how cocaine enhances the sex drive of Japanese quail. Please, give me a break. We've got people in Congress who've gone nuts. This is nuts. We're out of control.
My favorite, though, is the $600,000 spent to research why monkeys throw feces. Jamu, this is Looney Tunes. This is craziness.
Okay, look, one person's wasteful spending is another man's innovation, research and development. I probably spent $50,000 on my chocolate budget a year. That was in Hawaii.
That's more money, though.
But here's the reality. I think that we have to look at another list. If we were to get rid of the 2001 and 2003 tax cuts for the upper income earners, that's $866 billion. So yes, Wayne is absolutely right. It has to be cutting, but also adding revenue.
But John, why does the study of monkeys throwing feces always come back to the high wage earners being taxed?
And don't forget $30 million to Pakistani mango farmers. Right. And none of them got the equipment, but only one, 13 farmers, and the equipment didn't work. Look, what Jamu is saying is a matter of making numbers do whatever you want to do. You're taking that over 10 years. Let's take it over 100 years, okay? And let's call it $8.6 trillion. Let's call it whatever we want. Let's take it over 1,000 and call it $86 trillion. Look, we borrow 42 cents of every dollar, and you got to understand what we're talking about truly math-wise. If we go back to Clinton-era rates on the upper income levels, now we borrow 39 cents of every dollar. It's only about $40 billion a year. And that money right there doesn't hardly pay the interest on the newly accrued annual deficit of $1.3 trillion. So you've got to look at real numbers. We're still borrowing 39 cents, and that's giving the rich the tax cut, taking them away from the rich. Those numbers just don't add up.
But Neil, look, wait, let's get Neil in here. We got to get Neil in here. Neil, look, I took statistics. We all know we can play with the numbers, but you seem to think that Senator Coburn and his list, it's a bunch of, showboating.
You know, Senator Coburn is called Dr. No, but it should be called Dr. Nonsense. I mean, this is political pandering at its worst. We're talking about $6.5 billion here. That's how much Tim Geithner, our Treasury Secretary, is borrowing every day and a half. He's borrowing $125 billion a month. So we're going to be talking about rounding errors here. It's utter nonsense. I know that people don't like pancakes for yuppies, and there's lots of things we can throw stones at here, but this is nonsense. This isn't going to solve our problems. We have to get rid of Medicare and Medicaid benefits. We have to raise taxes.
But you can't ignore it.
Stuff.
You can't ignore it. It's egregious.
It doesn't matter. It's a rounding error. We got much bigger problems here.
Not
But it's egregious. And Jonathan, I'm going to get you back in here. It's egregious, and you got to start somewhere. And I'm still going back to the monkey species study.
Yeah, I think it is the philosophy. We end up at the multi-trillion-dollar bailouts because we say yes to all these government interventions, spending, and I mean, to me, it's thievery. There's really no other way to put it.
We say yes to Medicare and Medicaid. That's our problem.
Well, if you watch the show, you know that I don't. What's the most disconcerting to me, Tracy, is that it's ineffective as well. Spending whatever $10 million on Sesame Street in Pakistan has not engendered the Middle East to Western ideals.
It
so
is
it's not only immoral,
ineffective,
it's ineffective
Jonathan.
as well.
It's not ineffective. Would you prefer the young kids in Pakistan to watch Sesame Street or for them to watch terrorist porn?
Yeah, but
look, I prefer the kids in Camden, New Jersey to have a police station, okay? Forget about the kids in Pakistan. We have folks here that are hurting and that are hurting bad. And to Neil's point, look, you are correct about those social entitlements. They have to be done. That does not address the fact that what Jonathan's talking about, this is thievery. If you have a person who steals money in corporate America and puts it toward a driveway in his own home, that person gets fired or indicted. This is a symptom of a much greater cause, and it cannot be overlooked because it is not trivial. That's why we have to have some type of balanced budget amendment so these guys cannot do things like this.
But Wayne, I want to come back to you because you say we need to do both, but don't you worry that they're going to take your tax dollars and spend it on, I don't know, $50,000 for a festival promoting chocolate in Hawaii?
Well, of course but I don't think these guys care. These are people who have been bribed for years, the Congress. They don't know. When you call it a rounding error, tell that to some poor guy out here who doesn't have a job, who's trying to sweep up a hallway or do something like that for, $10 an hour, or $5 an hour, or whatever it is. Don't tell me that it's a rounding error. That's stealing. Stealing, whether you're stealing $5 or $5 million, they're stealing. And they're stealing our money, and the taxpayers should rise up. We should go to Washington. All of this stuff about people, the Occupy Wall Street, they should be occupying Washington, occupying the senators and the congressmen's homes. That's what they should be doing, because these are the people who are stealing your money.
Neil, wait, let's let Neil respond to that.
There's a bigger issue here, and the bigger issue is we have huge financial problems in this country, and be talking about silly things that are costing us as much money as we are borrowing in a half a minute is just ridiculous. It is a sideshow, and it is a sad commentary on Washington that they're not addressing our serious problems. Instead, they're putting out these asinine lists.
But Neil,
in the interest of Christmas spirit, can we all agree that one thing that was left off that list, the $174,000 that each member of Congress gets paid, cut that. That's $75 billion right there.
Dealing with the small things is like giving a guy who has a brain tumor an aspirin for his headache. The real problem is the brain tumor, and how it's manifest is a symptom. And the symptom, like Wayne points out, is thievery of American taxpayer dollars. And it has to be addressed.
It has to be addressed. And truth is, if we spent so much money on that documentary for how rock and roll killed the Soviet Union, I think we should have at least all gotten to see it.